do this.
All right. Hello, I'm Alicia from Evolve Portland, and I'm here with my amazing friend, Kendra Jones. And we are going to have a really open, vulnerable, amazing talk today. That's a talk that's been, I think, needing to happen for a while. And so I want to start by start by taking a couple breaths together, Kendra, and connecting, and then I will introduce you. So let's take a big out breath, sighing it out if you want, and then we're going to bring our energy into our pelvic bowl, our root. Just let that energy kind of make its way through our pelvic bowl, connecting us to the earth. I would love to call our ancestors in today. Today is November 1st. So the veil to the spirit world is wide open right now, and we are supported together to be talking. And I just want to set the intention that I speak openly and vulnerably, and that you do the same, and that both of us are coming from a place of love and healing, and that the energy that you provide and the energy that I provide and bring to the earth, may it be felt through this video, this phone call, for anyone who's listening. So welcome, Kendra. Oh my goodness, where do I begin? Kendra's an amazing healer, energy worker from here in Vancouver, Washington. Kendra, I forgot to ask you before we connected how to pronounce your middle name, because I know that's part of your Instagram. So can you tell us your full name and who you are?
Okay. My name is Kendra Elise Jones. I don't even know how to explain this. So I am a cosmetologist, have been for 11 years, and I've always been in the business of what they call me is the healing hands in the field of hair. But I've now recently gone through the transformation of really working on and becoming evolved into what my purpose is as a true healer and light worker in the energy field sense. I have always worked with women, empowering women, inspiring women on an aesthetic level, but in the last probably 2 years, I've been on my journey of discovery and self-development. I've now understood why, and it's because I'm here to help ignite and revive, or even help women discover their true power within their self in an internal place, and no longer on the aesthetic place. So I'm here. I'm just walking this journey, learning, and as I learn, I apply what I learn, and I know it's my mission to teach what I've learned to other souls so they will be able to heal themselves. Because as a light worker, I am understanding that it's not for us to heal the people, it's for us to hold a space and teach them how to self-heal.
Yes, I love that.
Yes.
Thank you. Today we're going to talk about this topic of racism. And so this is a topic that sometimes I talk a little bit about it in my circles, but not really. And it's something that I think a lot of people are afraid to approach because, there's a lot of reasons, and I think we can talk about that, like why why this is a scary topic. And I guess all I can say is, for me, there's this fear of saying something offensive that I didn't mean to say, coming from a place of ignorance and just like not knowing better, but then having assumptions. And I know that I have privileges as a white person, and I've been doing a lot of looking at that, and it's going deeper and deeper and deeper. And I see things that I've done in the past or said in the past just in a totally ignorant way. And, you know, I have regret for those things, but at the same time, there was a time when I just didn't know better. And so for me, I think that's what's kind of kept me from just coming out and talking about this. So I wanted to see what you feel about that, about having the conversation and about what's maybe been keeping it from happening sooner.
Honestly, I believe it's one of those conversations like having the big elephant in the room, but don't want to like deal with it because everybody is so sensitive, but also at the same time, everybody is not, how can I say, confident in their emotional self to be able to deal with it and to be able to really approach it in a way that you can find the common ground, or at least to agree to disagree. I just know from my experience of being a African-American woman that you can talk about it within your community, you know, but when you're out there in the field, you kind of just, you know, stay silent, even if they do bring it up, because a lot of the times when, I mean they, meaning like other nationalities, especially like of the Caucasian nationality, you kind of have to like blow it off, because if you even stand up for it, you know, some way, somehow, it's going to be looked at, oh, you're being too sensitive, you're making them uncomfortable, and if you want to keep your job or you want to keep in the status that you're in, you know what I mean? You kind of have to kind of like do like this. And no, that's not fair. But I know for me growing up, that was what was taught. You just, you know, you just have to, how can I say, survive. Yeah. And as a Black woman, to me, it's even more. It's like even like there's more things that are like on our being a woman and then being a woman of color. And then if you're a Black woman of color, it's like a weight that you already are like born into, because that's what your ancestors had, and then they brought it down from generation to generation. And in a unspoken sense, your mothers put that on you. And I mean, I have this poem that is so crazy that I had wrote, and I want to read it to give you guys a little bit of insight.
And can you preface, because you're a mother, you're a mother, yeah. Is that related to this poem at all?
Actually, yeah, in a way it is, because I have a son and a daughter. And it was this poem, I wrote this poem when a lot of the shootings and stuff were going on. And I can't tell you which specific one because there's been so many. And it was like I didn't recognize how much, you know, I held inside. So it's called Growing Up Black. I've not read this to anybody. So here we go. So I sit alone. Wait, hold on. Here we go. Growing Up Black. As a baby, you don't even connect color or race. You are just human. Spread love and peace. Do unto others as you want to do unto you. So I did. It wasn't until I was 6 years old and realized I was different. One would ask, what made me know that? when the little girl that was different and a different shade than me told me in order for me to be her friend, I had to tie her shoe. Growing up Black. So I sat alone with no friends because Mama always told me to be true to who you are and don't let no one control you. Middle school, I was the student body president, head cheerleader. But I was told because I had too much rhythm and my butt was too big, I couldn't be on the floor like they all did, growing up Black. It wasn't appropriate, they said, growing up Black, to speak my mind and really still be able to grind and hold the time with everybody and shine just like they did growing up Black. High school, now, if you were ethnic, all you had to deal with was, you know, maybe having curly hair, maybe not being seen, and sometimes being a square growing up Black. All I knew is I had to work 3 times harder, look 5 times better, just to be accepted in order to pass for them. Growing up Black, I couldn't talk about how I felt. Growing up Black, I couldn't even be strong. That's how I was built, because I would make them feel uncomfortable. And that was growing up Black. But now I understand as I become stronger in who I am, that it's not the color of my skin. It's just they're uncomfortable with who I am within. So it's crazy because I never realized that's what I held inside. That was my experience.
What inspired you to write that and to open that within you?
I believe it was one of the, I don't know, it was like maybe one of the shootings, one of the last shootings that happened. And I just remembered it was I seen the little boy, his dad was shot, and I was just, it hurt me because I have a son. And I was like, do they not see? And when I mean they, I mean the generalized, like, political people, you know, just Washington themselves. Do they not understand? You know what I mean? Like, people are literally being murdered because of the color of their skin, because people are so uncomfortable. And so what brought it out on me is I was like, it started like flooding memories, because I was in also a time of fear, because I'm thinking, I now have to explain these same things to my son and tell him he can't talk this way, he can't be this way. When we go into a store, make sure you're not doing this. When you're at school, make sure you're not doing this. And my guides were just like, write everything out. And I started writing everything out, and I didn't really recognize that's how much I was holding it, but it also was able to give me a broader picture on things and understanding that this is what you've dealt with for a long time.
It was so beautiful.
Thank you. It's weird because I never read that to anybody.
I see you on a stage, like reading that to thousands. It was so powerful.
Yeah.
I wanted to mention really fast that the article. So yesterday, yesterday I was on Instagram with a healer that's local, and she had posted an article, or she shared this article, and I think I might be able to share my screen here for a moment, because I wanted to show it, or I wanted to show her page. Whoops.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, here we go. Okay, so her name is Laura Robbins.
Yes.
And she wrote an article she's got 2 articles now, but this one has a link to the second. Oh, I guess in her bio, there's a link to the second article as well. And her article was about, shoot, do you remember what it was called? It was like,
yeah, Brave Magic, Love My Brave Magic, where she was at a writer's event. I think if you scroll all the way up, you can click into her link and it will go to the actual article. Yeah.
Yeah, so that was the second one. Okay, so she wrote, well, shoot, I don't know, sorry.
I know it's on Huffington's Post.
Yeah, it's on Huffington Post, and now I don't know how to bring myself back here, but let me see. Sorry. I'm not.
Hey, this is real life.
I know. I see you now, but I can't see me, but maybe that's okay. So anyway, as I try to figure this out, I'll just say I read, it was called like, I was the only Black woman at a conference.
Right.
I need to have this figured out. So
you have sent it to me.
Yeah.
And,
I
you
have
have
to
sent
figure
it
out.
to me on our chat on Instagram.
Whoops. Okay, well,
oh, is it this one? Not Everybody Love My Brave? Are you on that?
No, that's the second one. It's, sorry. How can I, oh, here I know. If I go to her page, here's why being the only Black, it was called Being the Only Black Person at Brave Magic. That was her article.
Yes.
And
Yes.
so I don't really know how to bring myself back here into this screen, but oh, maybe I am still there. I don't know.
I can see you.
Oh, you can. Oh, okay. Well, that's good because I couldn't. Oh no, now I did something else. Okay. Does it look like it did in the beginning with both of us there?
No, I just put it on mine so I can see you.
Yeah. Well, shoot, I wish I could figure out how to show myself, or I don't know, sorry. Okay, well, anyway, so I read this article and it instantly made me want to reach out because in the spiritual community, I've heard that this is a thing happening. And so I wanted to talk to you about that because the spiritual community has really been evolving. I've noticed in the last 10 years that I've been here. And I don't feel comfortable with it. And obviously neither do a lot of people of color. And so I just wanted to hear what you see as far as the spiritual community and its whiteness. And if you have any ideas about like, where is that coming from or what is happening? You know, why is this woman the only Black woman at this Brave Magic retreat?
Honestly, I believe that it has to do with one, just being in the Black community. Spirituality is mostly in like churches and stuff. So doing anything that's like of the woo-woo in a sense, is kind of like, oh, you know, you don't do that, even though that's where we derived. Our ancestors came from there, you know. But because there's been such a brainwashing in our community, we kind of like stand away to it. So those of us who are becoming more what you call awakened and conscious, and we're seeking these things, if we live in a demographic where there isn't are people really doing it, or we haven't found yet, we kind of find ourselves in these situations. I also think that I think also being in, for me, my experience being in a place where there's mostly white people, I believe you guys just don't know how to communicate and get out into the Black communities to open this up. I know when I was getting trained Reiki by you, I found this on, my sister actually found it on Instagram, and I just decided like, okay, I'm gonna do this. Did I know if I was going to be the only Black person? No, I didn't. I just kind of took the leap when I came there. Yeah, I was the only Black person. Did I feel weird? Yes, I'm not gonna lie. I felt very weird. But I also knew it wasn't about this, and that insecurity of you feeling like that, it has nothing to do with the people that are here. It really has to do with inside. So I just feel like there's a communication where maybe white people don't feel like they can connect to us, or maybe maybe you feel a little scared, because if you guys do approach us, because it's such a time sensitive, situation right now. Hold on, my daughter. That is when you're done. I have a 3-year-old, just so everybody knows. So I really feel like yes, thank you. My daughter. So I really feel like you guys just don't know how to get out into our communities. Because I feel like everybody kind of migrates to what they've always been assimilated in. Right. And so for us, we've always had to kind of just step out there and be the sort them. I don't really feel like it's always that white people only want to congregate with white people. I just think it's just your comfort, and that's just how you know how to connect. Now, some Black people, if they're watching this, they may feel differently, because they may feel like white people want to exclude us out all the time. And I honestly don't believe that. When you move into a conscious level of understanding, it's really not about the color. You know what I mean? It's about the conscious level and how you connect. But as a Black person, and when I was in that mindset, I did come from a place of pain. And like you were saying, just not being aware of certain things. So I don't think it's intended like purposely. I just feel like it's what you're exposed to, and that's what people connect with.
So I have quite a few friends who are Black. And so for me, it's just so interesting. It just, I want to go into those communities, and I want to invite people. And there's this part of me that feels like, who am I to feel like I am meant to be the teacher for anybody? Like, I'm sure there's amazing teachers of all different cultures and races and colors, and who am I to try and like push my teachings or my circles on anybody? And then at the same time, I really celebrate having a circle, because there are times when I look around at the circles. I host bi-monthly sisterhood circles, and there are times that I look around and I've got lots of friends and women that come that are from, you know, Iran, and lesbians and older women and younger women and straight women and married women and single women, and, you know, just all such a mix. But maybe there's a place for like intentionally going out, because I know I've had it happen. Just a few weeks ago, there was an African American woman who wanted to come to the circle. She paid her ticket, and then the day came and she changed her mind and didn't want to come. And there's definitely this part of me that felt like, oh my gosh, I wonder if she just doesn't want to be the only Black woman at the circle. And how do I approach that, or how can I make a space that's safe or comfortable?
Honestly, maybe it's in the way that you advertise. Maybe taking pictures of your circles to show that, you know, then she might not, or they might not be the only person of color. Because I believe, you know, a lot of society, it's all about what we see. We do judge books by their cover before we can actually go into it. Me, on the other hand, I don't do that. So I'm like what you call an odd person, whatever.
Yeah.
For the general population, that might be a way to like have a picture, you know what I mean, so they can see like, oh, I won't be the only one. This is like all inclusive for everybody.
Yeah.
Maybe a video quick, you know what I mean? Or maybe if that happens, you can ask them, well, why are you backing out? What's going on? How can I help you? You know what I mean? And just putting it out there. As long as you know what your intention is behind it, then at the end of the day, you've done your part.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, and I think it brings up this other topic that I'd love to hear your views on, of tokenism, right? Mm-hmm. Because I have pictures of circles with women of color in them, and I have pictures of you, beautiful Kendra, doing Reiki, and I love sharing them, and photos of all my students, and there's definitely a part of me, if I have this beautiful picture and I want to share it on my Instagram, and then it's like, okay, am I tokenizing Kendra? Is there a part of me that's putting this picture up because I'm wanting to be exclusive, but then at the same time, that's me, just tokenizing? And so how do you feel about that?
Well, because I know you, I know that's not why. But there are cases that, you know, that is the reason why people do that. But also as a being, just being in yourself, you have to come out of the space of, you know, making assumptions and knowing, like I said, going back to what your intention is behind it. Mm-hmm. You know, everybody has their own way of how they perceive things. And so if you know what your intention was behind it, it doesn't really matter how the masses are going to think, because the right people are going to align, the right people are going to come to you. Yeah. So I believe that's just a space where you have to build that courage, you know, and build that confidence, and kind of shut down the trunk monkey in our heads of, you know, well, this is probably how they're going to look at it. You know what I mean? Because, you know, you're on your journey of growing and being enlightened, and, you know, wanting to, you know, have everybody be involved, because at the end of the day, that's what the whole point of this walk is. Uniting everybody at the end of the day, you know? Mom, so, I was at the beach when I was at Hawaii. Okay. So I believe that's what I believe that is, because I don't feel like you were being like that. I don't look at it like that. Have I had that experience before? Yes, because when I was a model, I noticed that's why they did that. But I think in the spiritual world, and when you know what your intent is behind it, it's not about that.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I'm so glad we're talking about this. It's so scary, but it's like just real. It's like real thoughts.
It really is. You're right about that. I believe also just like having this conversation is going to help, people who are watching. It's going to help them want to like look at things in different standpoints, whether you're Black or white. Because at the end of the day, if you're born here in America, all of us are mixed up together.
Yeah.
And some thing, at the end of the day, we all the same thing. We just have different melanin. And so from a Black person's standpoint, you have to come, and not that I'm saying I'm erasing what we've gone through and all that kind of stuff, like what our ancestors have gone through. And I respect that as a Black person, because I always go in between like, oh, wow, am I just dismissing it? But as you grow, I'm also learning that we have to express because it comes out in anger, but it's actually hurt of feeling like we're not acknowledged or feeling like our stories don't matter. You know what I mean? And having the respect. We're not asking white people to just be like, oh my gosh, I'm so bad. You know what I mean? We're just saying like, hear us out. You can't feel our pain, but at least empathize what your privilege is and what we don't have. You know what I mean? And I think that gets very screwed.
But if my first day going Scott, what he was going to when I was in the car seat when I was eating, when I was eating them.
He was doing go-karts.
Yeah.
So I believe, now that we're having a commercial with my daughter, sorry. So I believe that, I really believe that we as Black people, we have to come to a place of being more open and teaching you guys, because white people don't know. And if they're not going to know, so what's the best way to teach what you've gone through? And then also just white people understanding, like, it doesn't mean that we're mad at you. It just means that we want to be heard. We want to be validated. We want you to just understand what your privilege is. You weren't born into already having all these knocks against you. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I think we all just need to come from a place of being open in our emotional selves and hearing each other out. There's a difference between actively hearing and just hearing. And I feel like that's what's happening. I mean, not to get off subject, but I even think about the whole, if you go into the Black Lives Matter, all lives matter. Yes, all lives do matter. Nobody's saying that. But the whole point behind that was that it seems like it's still being dismissed. Nothing's being done. You know what I mean? And so I think that's the uproar, and that's the difference of why we're still like this. And we're not coming together. And even the ones that are coming together, because the majority is still angry and everybody wants to be in their anger or just stay separated, because at the end of the day, it's fear that's keeping us separated. That's why we're still in this taboo of not wanting to talk.
Mm-hmm. You're so right. And that's why I think this conversation is important, because the fear is there. It's fear. That is what's keeping it apart. And then when we're able to like go into that fear anyway and talk about it and look at it, and then it's so obvious that we are the same people. We are the same spiritually, but not everybody is evolved.
And that's where it takes us, me and you, and everybody else who's in this world, as we work on ourselves as beings to start bridging the gap. We're going to get more resistance because we're going outside of what the norm is, outside of what the matrix of what everybody sees and what they're brainwashed in. So that's a part of being a light worker. That's a part of being a person of the spiritual realm, coming together. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Yeah. And just love at the end of the day.
Maybe we come up. Oh no. Wait, did you say something? My internet cut out.
Oh, no. I was just waiting.
Oh. Well, I was going to say maybe we can create a space for women of color, white women, everyone to just come together and talk about this in person, in a circle, hearing each other's experiences.
I believe I believe that is what is needed. Not saying we're discounting the guys, because yes, we need the guys. We love you guys. But I believe because as women, we are the force. We are what helps create on a physical level life and existence. So I believe if we come together first and we hash these things out first, because we are the nurturers, we are the teachers, and start our journey of healing, then we'll be able to go out in our own communities, our own homes, and just our own life, and showing the way that we are united, and will help heal humanity in another way. And it'll also help that divine masculine and feminine energies to come together as well.
Yeah, I think a lot about that too, the divine masculine and the toxic masculine, and the divine feminine and the toxic feminine, and how we are, I mean, that's like a whole nother conversation, but it's got to start with compassion, and that's the divine feminine. And so I feel like that is where women, we're less likely to want to shoot somebody, or to want to fight somebody, or to get angry and like turn it into a physical altercation.
Right. Definitely.
Who is this?
That's your brother.
He wanted the big from Trick or Treat.
Yeah, that was when he was a Power Ranger. Yeah, I definitely believe that. I definitely believe the more we do things like this, me, you, or whoever else, and doing these type of conversations, it's already putting a mark in healing. You know what I mean? And when people really come back to, even when they get out of their anger or have their assumptions, even with this conversation, how they feel like each one of us are portraying both of our races, and they really come back to the source of things, and they really see things in a sense of love and like wanting to heal, they'll be like, oh, you know what I mean? They can have a different look at this. But it took you to really, you know what I mean, to be brave. Because being in the Northwest and being a woman that is white, coming with this conversation, I don't know, but what I've heard from people that I do their hair that are white, having these conversations with their friends and stuff that are not open, that is kind of nerve-wracking. Because, you know what I mean, some of them, if they're not exposed to it, or they just don't want to deal with it, they don't even want to bring it up. And so I commend you, because it's going to take you and others of your race to do this. And that's what we're also asking. That's what other people of color, especially Black people, are asking for you guys to do this. I know it may be scary, but that's what's needed to change the face of everything. Because it doesn't matter if we go and do it. Sometimes they don't want to hear it, but it's going to take somebody like you that can connect, because most people learn from who they see. That is like a commonality, or, you know what I mean? So you being that representation, going back into your community, even kind of sparking the conversation, or even not saying anything at all, but just being with other women of color and doing that's a testament in itself. So I send you love.
Thank you. Yeah, you know, I'm really interested in this conversation in Portland. So I'm not from Portland, but I've lived here for almost 17 years. And one of my sweet dear friends that I met at school, Bree, her name's Bree, there's a documentary that was made about her mom, and then they followed it up. It's called Priced Out is the second one. And it's about North Portland and gentrification. And Bree's mom ended up like moving to Texas because she was so done with being pushed out of her community. And so I mean, I've gone and watched that documentary, and I live in North Portland, and my children go to school in North Portland, and there's been a lot coming up around this issue with their school because it's a Waldorf school, and there are not very many other people that aren't, you know, white-skinned people in that school. And it's like, how do we, I mean, this is just such a big conversation. But you grew up in the Northwest. Did you grow up in Vancouver?
Yeah, definitely. I grew up in the Northwest.
Yeah. And so can you talk a little bit about what that was like? And have you seen a lot change for the better or the worse, or what's it been like for your experience?
Honestly, I feel like growing up in the Northwest, of course, I was a lot of the times I was the only in school. I was the only Black girl, always. And in everything I did, I mean, yeah, we have people of color coming here, but I don't really feel like it's changed. I really don't. I feel when I travel, because when I travel and do my jobs, I feel more comfortable in other states, especially like you would think in Texas, I wouldn't, because it's like, ugh. But I feel more comfortable there. In the South, when I went to New Orleans, when I went to, just different places. I went when I was in New York and all those places, I actually felt like I was more comfortable there than I was here. And the simple fact is because I feel like not only because the population has more of like my color or other people, but it's because there's a certain respect that white people have down there where they don't up here.
Huh.
I don't know what it is, but I remember in New Orleans, it was so crazy to see how, you know, race is real and everything back there, but they don't see it like it is up here. I feel like it is more racist up here than it is going down into what they would call a red state, like Texas, New Orleans. I feel like it's more, I definitely feel like it's more racist. Mm-hmm. I don't know why it's more racist, but I feel like because down there they've had to deal with it already. So once you've already cut into, you know, what you call the cancer of everything, you gotta figure out how you can somewhat heal it or just deal with it in general. Where here, I think it still is kind of sneaky. I don't trust it half the time. Mm-hmm. I don't know. It has not changed. I think they've changed because they just haven't dealt with it. And I think because they do have multicultural things, or they do, we're doing a good job, but they have not addressed it at all. And I can understand why a lot more Black people or other people of color leave here, because I believe there's a sense of, although they say they're conservative out here, there's still a sense of fear of what's going to happen to us if we get quote unquote exterminated.
Ugh. It's sneaky. When you said it's sneaky out here, like that is so right. That's how it feels. It feels sneaky, and it feels like that elephant in the room, like what you said. Mm-hmm. And I don't even know what to say.
Yeah, it's one of those things you don't really know what to say. And I can even speak from my husband moving from Cleveland to here, and just even on his own job. He's just like, I've never like experienced this before. Like, what's going on? And I'm like, you have to watch it. Like they're sneaky out here. They play like they're very like, you know, wanting to welcome you, but at the same time, like you gotta watch it because you don't know. 1 minute, everything seems cool. The next minute, you know, they're axing you, and you're like, wait, what? And I believe it's because, once again, fear of are we not going to be, you know what I mean? And I believe it's a lot of power and control situation out here too.
So do you, like on your street where you live, do you have community of, I mean, your family, you have family that lives up there, and when you go to church, is it mostly people of color, or what is your community like?
When I went to church, because I don't go to church anymore for my own reasons. But when I went to church, it was predominantly a Black church because my family started it. My son, though, where we live right now, you know, there's a lot of Hispanics. There's a lot of course, whites, and there's some Blacks too. So I feel like we have some type of a community, but we're kind of just still with our own self. Like just my family.
Do you feel, yeah. So like your kid's school, is it predominantly white?
Actually, even though it feels like it's more white, I feel like there's still more diverse in. He has a little bit more he has diversity in it. But once again, I don't know how people are going to take this, but because I wasn't taught this, I don't teach my son about, I mean, he knows about color, of course, because he's African American and, you know, and I wasn't taught it either. I mean, we were taught it, but I don't know how to explain it. We were taught it, but we were taught don't judge the book by its cover. You know what I mean? You still need to be strong in who you are because this is what's going to happen to you. But my mom, she never really harped on that. Because I was always stimulated. My parents would have us go to schools. I remember my elementary school going out here. They made sure specifically we went to this school called Roosevelt Elementary, and it was internationally. So it was all about, you had Hispanic, you had Asian, you had Cambodian, you had Russian, you had white, you had everything. So when you are placed in something like that, you're just kind of like, oh, I'm just a person. And then with the districts out here, when I went and left the district I was put in, and then I went into the other district, which is called Evergreen School District, where it is predominantly more whites, that's when it was my first time that I experienced like, oh shoot, girl, you're Black. Like, you're really dealing with racism now. But before I didn't know that. And so I kind of try to do that to my son, but then at the same time, I have to make him aware. And so that's my challenge of growing up right here. I kind of feel like he's being kind of cut in half, slighted, where he doesn't get the cultural aspect enough, but then he's assimilated in this, what you call white world. And so I feel like I have to take him out of here and, you know, travel with him so he can see his people to be empowered, because where we actually live at, that is not what he's in. But then at the same time, I don't teach him, oh, judge these people off of this, you know? So as a Black person, it is challenging as a Black parent. It is, because you want your kids to love, you want your kids, but then at the same time, you know what society is going to do to them. So it's this weird, kind of sick way of having to teach your kid, like, be nice, be who you are, love everybody, but also know they might cut you. You know what I mean? They might axe murder you in a way that's mentally. So I don't know. It's strange, but I know it's going to be different for my daughter than it is my son.
Wow. Because she's a girl.
Yeah. And because she's a girl and she's a Black girl and her hair is tighter, and because I do mixed race girls' hair, and I see the confusion that happens and the judgment that happens. And because my daughter she's African American, tighter curls, browner skin, not as brown, not as dark as like the ebony skin of like African women that I like love, you know what I mean? But I know she's gonna have it harder, because with white girls, it's sad, but I don't even think their moms know, because I already deal with it when we go to playgrounds. how the kids will be like, the little girls, there'll be some little girls who have been assimilated with girls of color, they'll play with her, but then there will be others that are just not. And they even say things.
Oh, wow.
And so for her, it's going to be a different challenge.
I have some of my very, very best friends, like my best friend, her children are mixed.
Mm-hmm.
And then one of my other really good friends, her husband is from Africa, very dark skin, and her children are mixed, but they have, you know, I mean, and I just, yeah, like that's a whole nother conversation, right? And then another thing to look at. And, you know, when we talk about privilege, because I talked about how there's things that I didn't realize were privileges. And there was a situation last year, I can't even remember. I think it was what was happening at my kids' school. And I basically, because they've grown up playing with, like my other best friend is Mexican, she grew up in Mexico. So my kids grew up playing with all kinds of people of other colors and races. And I had to sit down and kind of explain to them what racism was and about Black people and how they're not treated the same and how they have things to worry about that we don't have to worry about. And it was so heartbreaking for me. And like literally my kids, like their eyes teared up because of our friends we have friends who are Black and friends who are Mexican. And then I realized later, like I didn't even get it in that moment that was a privilege that they get to wait until I teach them about racism, rather than having to learn it for their own safety.
Right. Exactly. That is one of those things that I don't think a lot of people that are like a lot of white people don't know. And I think that was probably very eye-opening for you.
And this isn't even a conversation that I've had with my very best friends who are married to men of, you know, one African, one of them, he's half Black and half Japanese. And, you know, like I've never even talked to them really about this because you know, there's this other conversation or this other thing where like, for me, I love these kids like my own, like I love these children. And there's a long time in my life where, you know, I just don't think I didn't even notice that they, you know, oops, sorry, my phone. But, you know, in the end, it's like, that's not okay either, to not notice that someone has struggles that I just don't know about. You know? And so, gosh, I'm just so thankful for you for talking to me about this and being so open and so brave and so loving. And, you know, like, where do we go from here, Kendra? What do we do? Or how do we, for me, you know, like, I have this intention that I will speak my truth and I will be impeccable with my vulnerability and my word. And if I ever see acts of hate come up, I will do something. But I don't think that that's enough. Like, there needs to be more.
And I believe that there should be more forums and conversations like what we're having, open to inviting people in the physical form or sending out these videos this way and having these conversations, even just the little topics we've already just talked about and expounding on them more, and then getting them to have, you know, say and what they feel like, because I believe if the conversation is pushed more and it comes from a place where it's being facilitated from a Black woman, from a white woman, even down to, and I'm not dismissing like Native Americans, because I feel like they have been very washed away.
Yes.
You know what I mean? I feel like they're like the unspoken, you know, original beings in just North America themselves. But I believe if we open this up just with the white and black, it's going to help open up so many doors and realizing the core issue. You know what I mean? What is really the core issue? Because at the end of the day, if I cut, I'm bleeding red just like you would. You know what I mean? So I believe what we have to start implementing is putting these type of forums or putting these type of opportunities as leaders, as healers, into play, into our communities, and just coming at it with the intention of, like I said, if we are a surgeon, cutting it open, start cleaning it out, and also understanding that healing, there's different levels of healing. You know what I mean? And so we can give them the tools. And by us giving them the tools is us being the platforms of facilitating these types of conversations and these types of events.
Yeah, because in the end, you know, one of my, sorry, my voice. I have a friend, Paula Noel, who she is really big on decolonization. And she says, yeah, like we can start, like racism is like kind of the surface level, but really it's about every single person, whether you're Native American, you're Hispanic, you're Black, you're European descent, whatever it is, that we each individually go in to our own history, our own ancestors, finding the sacred sites, because in the end, when we all go back far enough, we have a connection to indigenous people on the land, on the earth, living in a way that is sustainable and compassionate and in rhythm with the masculine and the feminine. And so, I mean, I think really that is like the deepest work, but there's also this level, right? Like you got to start somewhere.
You got to start. And you know, what you were saying is so right, because I know for me, coming into the world of spirituality and doing everything, it was scary for me, because most African American cultures, they don't do this woo-woo stuff. You're crazy. You know what I mean? If you're doing that. And so like you were saying, if you go back, having to even admit that your ancestors shipped you off, you know what I mean? And so healing that part, and I mean, like, you're right. And going back to the core, and that's what's gonna be like the big, gonna be the big deal. But I believe like us doing this and then opening this up more, I believe that it's already starting a place of healing and understanding that there is going to be resistance. You know, every hero has to go in and battle, and a lot of the times with the battle that the hero feels like they're doing to help their whatever they're helping their tribe, community, whatever, it's really dealing with the shadow self.
Yep. And you know what? You know you're doing a good job as a healer, a light worker, a person, if you are getting resistance, if you're triggering people and pissing them off, because that's a sign that they're growing, like maybe not in a comfortable way, but you're doing something, right?
Right. That's so true. Yeah, it's so true, because like I really recognized that in this world, everybody wants, in general, love, right? But love is about being acknowledged, being validated, and accepted, and then that connection. And so I believe that at the end of the day, that's what everybody's trying to, that's the big thing. That's the big elephant. I want to be accepted. You know, I want the connection. I want you to love me for me. You know what I mean? But we have these, you know, things to keep us separated. So, I mean, like I said, we're at this journey right now, stepping out, but I do know as long as you're putting your best foot forward towards it and I'm putting my best foot forward towards it in the way that we walk in our life, it's going to touch. The ripple effect might not be as big as we wanted at first, but it's the little minuscule things that will then, you know what I mean? Help everything. Yeah.
So I want to invite anyone in your community, women who have been maybe considering, like, what is it like to go to some woo-woo circle?
Yeah.
What does it feel like to sit with women and open up my truth, or be held and heard, not necessarily held in a physical way, but have the space to speak? Because in the circles that I host, I mean, people are able to say anything they want to say, and it's a safe place to say it and to be heard. So I invite any women from any background, any cultural background, to come and join that. And that information, I always post events on Facebook. You can find me on Facebook if you search evolveportland.com on my website. And I'm also on Instagram at evolveportland. It's all one word. And then Kendra, you're doing some really amazing work right now. Do you want to talk a little bit about what you have to offer, and then also how the best way for people to find you?
Yes. So I definitely, I'm a vaginal steam practitioner. So for women, if you're wanting to get revived, or if you're even having any issues. Oh, that's cool, Sky. Sorry, you guys. Yes. If you guys want to contact me through Instagram, Body Smoke. I have my link on my website. And yes, that is your favorite.
And wait, let me see. Body Smoke. It's body and then
underscore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Smoke.
Yeah.
Body underscore smoke.
Yes. And that's my Instagram. My link to my website's there. If there's also anybody, I'm an intuitive counselor and life coach. You can go on my website to email me, and we can set up a session locally in Portland or Vancouver. I can meet with you. I meet virtually, and I'm now working on a workbook on teaching about chakras and energy healing and the divine masculine. So I'm getting that book together, and I'm going to launch that by the end of the year. So I can't wait until that comes out, because it's going to definitely help people just learn more about their body and who they are beyond this physical level. And it will help you learn how to manifest what you desire, but it's all about working inside. So yeah, hit me up on Instagram. I am on Facebook, and I'm going to be doing more videos on Facebook. I'm starting my YouTube soon. So just, yeah, the best way to get at me and contact me is through Instagram, through DMs, or on my email. And that is cleansebodysmoke@gmail.com. Or you can contact me, and I will give you the number 360-721-9494 for any intuitive readings or counseling. And let's just start healing from the inside.
Yeah, and so we're going to post this. This will be a podcast. I have a podcast on my website, Evolve Portland. So I'll take the audio and put it on a podcast. We'll take the video. I have a YouTube channel. I'll put it there. If you have one, we'll put it there.
Yeah.
We'll post it on Facebook. And so if you're watching or you're listening and you want us to talk about something, please post a comment. If you feel like this conversation was helpful, please share it. Please let us know what you're feeling, what you're thinking. If you have ideas of opening space up to make it more exclusive, please let me know. I'm open to any and all recommendations on that. So any comments or anything, like, we're here, and you'll be seeing more from Kendra and I we don't know yet what that is, but
yes,
we'll be
and
doing
all the
something
mamas out there understand, like all the mamas out there understand that right now, I'm just gonna be truthful right now. I was definitely fighting with some anxiety because I'm like, how do I do this? And my daughter's right here, but I want you to know that working through this has showed me that if you have a dream, to the moms out there that have kids and everything, that you can do it, like no matter what. Like if the space and the opportunity is being open, walk through it and know that there will be glitches, but it's all about learning and it's all about growing, and that don't let little things or your little people make you feel like you're not adequate enough to be able to do stuff like this. And I want to thank Alicia for opening up this space, because honestly, there was a lot of fear behind this for me. And I was also nervous because I'm like, oh my gosh, I have my daughter. What am I going to do? You know what I mean? And I also know that's just a part of motherhood.
Mm-hmm. You know, I never got to finish saying because I got all confused with the computer, but yeah, because I read that article yesterday. I sent it to you. I'm like, well, look at this article. And I knew, like, because I just always wanted to ask you about how you felt at the circles or the classes, and like, how do I invite more women of color into my space? But it's like, how do I ask that? So I just sent you the article. We started talking, right? And we're like, I think you said, let's do a Zoom call or let's do a podcast or whatever. I'm like, okay, when? And I'm like, this is really scary, Kendra. And you're like, I know. I'm like, okay, let's do it tomorrow. And you said 11, we'll do it at 11:11. And I'm like, yes, we're okay.
Yeah.
So that's true, right? Like the kids, like it's so easy to get distracted or to make up excuses for anything. And right now, especially, we're moving into fall, you know, we're like coming into this new moon next week. There's just a lot. Venus has been retrograde. We're learning about love, loving ourselves. And there's so many distractions, and it's so easy. And right now, with the spirit gate wide open, November 1st, Dia de los Muertos, it's just the time is here.
It is. It really is the time. Like, it is, right now is the time. So even if you guys are watching this and hearing this, even if you feel like you're not even getting anything out of it, just know the seed is being planted. And also know that it was meant for you to hear this, to just spark something within inside of you, whether that's healing internally, whether that's putting more action into what your dreams are. Just understand everything happens in the right timing and the divine alignment. And even those who are not having the greatest time right now, understand you have to change your mindset of how you're experiencing right now, and ask yourself inside, what's the lesson I'm supposed to be learning? Because that's what it's all about. What is the experience, and how can you learn from this experience and apply it in your life so you can become the best version of you and love yourself at the end of the day. Love yourself, forgive yourself for everything, and understand at the end of the day, love is what wins.
Thank you. Yes.
Yay, I'm so glad we got to talk.
Me too. Okay, so we're gonna end this because we've been on here for a little longer than we planned. But I thank you so much, and I'll be sure wherever this is posted, there will be links to Kendra, to me. Feel free to reach out. We've both got so many things that we offer in the way of healing, in the way of self-love, in the way of growing, tarot readings, energy healing. Kendra does so I thank you, Kendra, a million times over.
Yes. Love to you too.
Okay, so I'll talk to you soon.
Okay.
Have a great day. Happy Dia de los Muertos.
Yes. Love and light to you.
Bye, honey.
Bye.